Butters, and I'm Secretary of Health and Human Services, otherwise known as half a state government. And I have the great honor of co-chairing the Governor's Council on optimal, that's our new word, optimal aging. Eileen Connors is my co-chair, and a number of the members appointed by the governor are here with us this morning. We're here today to listen to you. The governor believes very much in listening from those from the community, not just from experts, but from those who have your own truths and the things that are important for you to tell us. I want to particularly thank, first of all of you for coming out and being on time and early, actually, and also to Lucy Sheehan, who is the director. Where is she? Where's Lucy? She's wandering around somewhere, making sure everything's perfect here at this beautiful. Thank you, Lucy, for hosting us this morning. A big round of applause to Lucy. And the mayor of Gloucester is with us this morning. She corrected me, right? Mayor Bacon, right? Yes. And was wondering if you'd like to say a few words to, I'm sure there's lots of people from Gloucester.
Well, first of all, welcome everyone who's here. Not just Gloucester, but all around the North Shore. We're very honored to have you here today. I was looking at the next schedules, and I guess we're the only one across this side of the bridge, which is kind of nice. I'm also a Shine counselor, so I'm certified Shine still. I am the only mayor in Massachusetts, and they believe in the United States, who still serve in health insurance needs for elders. We have quite a few Shines here. My co-workers where I worked at the Addison Gilbert Hospital also here. So it's really a privilege to have you here and to understand finally there is a council like this. We need representation, but we needed a voice. As you know, that some of you who worked with elders, a lot of us work with elders, we wouldn't be here today. It's kind of hard to actually have a voice, because the fact is you're working, and nobody who serves elders works just 7 hours or 8 hours. It doesn't exist. And we can't go to meetings, and we can't have an advocacy, and we can't have people going forward to tell us what we need. So to have a council so we can address these issues, email and talk, or just get the information to us of the changes and things. And first of all, my biggest thing is please, 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 we are the only state who still has prescription advantage. And if those who know what it is, it's very important. It's a coverage gap. And until we get promised, and we promised a lot that the Medicare Part D RX plan, the gaps were going to go away and all the deductibles, and we know that's not happening. But Massachusetts is still 100% behind our seniors, and Governor Baker is also 100% behind our seniors, because he continues our support, and he continues showing support for seniors is by doing this. Having a council so we can have a voice. Prescription advantage is very crucial, because first of all, it only covers the income from your assets. So even if you are a little bit over, that's okay. If this is like a program that treats everyone equally. As we know, if you are below a poverty level, you have help. Medicaid, you have help. And I'm sure you'll talk about that after. But the fact is, this is a program still that is for everyone. And that's the only one in the whole United States. And a lot of people don't even know what it is. And we do, and we appreciate it. So first of all, send my regards to the governor. Tell him thank you for doing this, and thank you for supporting. Thank you. Oh, I will too, you know. But I just want him to know that we are very appreciative in Gloucester. So thank you for coming to Gloucester.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So today we're here to listen to anyone who wants to speak to us. In particular, the governor has laid out 6 sort of questions for us to be contemplating. What factors make your community a great place to grow older? How can we support families that include older adults? How can we promote more human connectedness in our communities to reduce isolation? What are the top 2 issues or concerns that create barriers to being able to age well in your community? How can we use innovation, you know, that technology stuff, to support and connect older adults? And how can we change public perceptions about aging? So we're here to listen. We'd ask if you could try to limit what you want to say to us in, like 3 to 5 minutes so that everyone can be heard this morning. We know that's sometimes difficult. So if someone has something that you really feel you need to more than 3 to 5 minutes, then one of us or one of our staff will just take you aside so we can respect your time with us, and you can tell us your whole story, if that's agreeable. Because we want to hear from everybody who wants to be heard this morning. We have sign-up sheets somewhere. I think Julie, where are you, Julie? Julie? So, see that person in the lovely gold color? If anybody who wants to sign up for you to talk to us. You can also, we have websites and other ways for you to engage in us. So while today's the only day we're in Gloucester, this is not the only time that you can engage with us. So please know that. This is the beginning, and we're thrilled that our first listening session is in Gloucester. All right? Eileen, you have something you want to say?
That sounds good to me.
All right.
Let's hear from you.
All right. So the first person who's signed up, and I will just do one apology up front. If I mispronounce your name, it is not with any lack of respect. It's just for my inability to either read your writing or my ability to pronounce your name. So, Ernest Cote, Mr. Cote? C-O-T-E, Ernest. Cody? Okay, you can tell French in my family, Cote. Mr. Cody? And if you would please?
Oh.
Yep.
I'm not really prepared. I was waiting to see what you had to say.
Oh, no, we're here to hear from you, sir.
That's what I suppose, right? But I think compassion, is a great thing, right?
Do you want to?
And love is a great thing, right? But you don't really hear about that too much from too many people, even your own neighbors. Right? But it's a very important thing, right? No, I don't know about. I know that the people who run this place are compassionate and loving, right? But housing authorities tend to be businesses, and they tend to do favors for friends, and just like other people who speak up as such. I don't think anybody else has this problem because they don't seem to. A lot of people are afraid to say anything, right? But I feel that humanness, connectedness, compassion, and even love, right?
Yep.
It's an important thing, and we can dance, we can swim, we can learn yoga, we can do all sorts of things, right? But how do we get together closer emotionally?
Okay.
I don't know. I guess that's about it. I guess.
All right. Human connectedness. We hear that. Thank you, sir. Okay. So this next name is, I want to say Scott Trenti, T-R-E-N-T-I. Oh, he's got a rooting club here. Good morning.
That's our senior care contingent. So 3 to 5 minutes, okay. This is going to be a challenge, but thank you very much for being here today. And please extend our thanks to the governor as well. My name is Scott Trenti. I'm the executive director of Senior Care, which is an aging service access point as well as an area agency on aging. I'm here not only representing Senior Care, but also our mass home care network of 29 provider agencies. So one of the things that we did was we polled all of our members relative to the 2 questions about what are some of the challenges and what are some of the potential solutions. So I have a lengthy document that obviously I'm not going to be able to go through, but I have given.
But you will leave it with us?
I already have.
Thank you.
Okay. So one of the things that's come out of our own needs assessment at Senior Care, as well as Leahy Health and Action Inc. and many other needs assessments conducted around the state, is the more need for affordable housing.
Amy Scheckman just smiled.
See that? I have an ally. Where one of the solutions that our network have identified is to continue to advocate for short-term placement options for people that are places that are able to manage more medically and socially complex people. We need to continue to advocate on the local and state level for increased affordable housing. And another suggestion that came out was to look at long-term care facilities and perhaps convert some of these beds or some of these areas into longer-term housing for elders. It was interesting, as a side note, I attended a webinar on that was done by the APA in Ohio last Friday. One of the things that they identified was that homeowners who had large pieces of property in this certain area of Ohio were able to put small houses on their property in order to house the elders, and at some point the property owner would own that house. So I think this is kind of out of the box kind of thinking that we need to really be thinking about to address this problem. Another barrier that was identified is inadequate income. Many older people today are unable to fully retire because they don't have enough money to do so. And one of the solutions that was proposed is that the Commonwealth should consider extending the earned income tax credit for people working, for working people over the age of 65. Home maintenance costs are certainly a challenge for many, many elders. Another barrier that was identified was confusion over healthcare options. Certainly the network is filled with different options for people, you know, whether it's Medicare, Medicare Advantage, Medicaid, senior care options, accountable care organizations, one care plan, senior care options, otherwise known as SCOs. There's a whole lot for the consumer to consider in order to determine what's the best option for them. And, you know, built into our network are options counselors. And these folks not only work with seniors, but also adults with disabilities as well. And one of the things that we're concerned about at the federal level, as you folks know, is the SHINE program and, you know, the possible federal cuts in that program. We see this as a very valuable program for seniors so that, and adults with disabilities, so that they're able to navigate this complex system. Certainly elder homelessness is a big problem. We see it here. Senior care covers 9 communities. So we have the 4 communities of Cape Ann, as well as Hamilton, Wenham, Ipswich, Topsfield, and Beverly. And homelessness is certainly a problem in our area as it is in the rest of the Commonwealth. One of the solutions that was proposed by our network is that every ASAP agency should have funding for housing search services for seniors who need to move to a safe, affordable, permanent housing, who are not yet homeless or they're at imminent risk of eviction. We don't have a lot of options with folks who are homeless. You know, oftentimes the shelters are not set up to accommodate people with medical problems or social type issues, and it's a very difficult thing. We have the luxury at Senior Care, in collaboration with our partners at North Shore Elders, we share a housing coordinator who attempts to help people, but the options are quite slim. And you know, I don't have a magic wand or any sort of magic solution to this problem, but it certainly needs to be addressed.
And in conclusion,
okay, I guess the last one I'll talk about is the need for same-day service for people who are being discharged from hospitals or from nursing facilities. I know that there's a pilot program going on. It's called the RIGHT program, and to be able to provide, to have that link with healthcare systems, hospitals, et cetera, and nursing facilities, whereby on that same day of discharge, someone from an ASAP would be able to go to that home, would have an agreement with our provider network, and would be able to provide those services immediately. Because we recognize the fact that a lot goes on in those first 24 to 48 hours when someone is home, and it's not unusual for someone to be readmitted or have to go back to the ED during that time period. So this is very important. And I'll be quiet now.
No. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask you, you named a lot of great things and a lot of things we're all concerned about. What would be your top two, not to put you on the spot, but?
Affordable housing, and I didn't speak to transportation. Okay, we have the luxury here on Cape Ann. You know, we have a pretty good health system, fairly good transportation system. However, we know that's not the case throughout the Commonwealth. So those are my top two.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, I see,
I just wanted to let everyone know that our senator is here. Oh, you saw him if you wanted.
Thank you.
And just so you know that everyone that's speaking here, we work so closely together. And so we would love to have you come back again for a roundtable, which would be great because all the concerns that everyone's going to be addressing. So I let him have my time because it's very important. We're working on Alzheimer's because Alzheimer's is hitting us, and we need networking, we need support. So thank you.
Bruce? Thank you.
I see the Senator Tarr, who is the Senate Minority Leader for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the State Senate. Good morning, sir. Everyone else was timely.
So, have you seen your budget yet, Madam Secretary?
I'm sure it'll be good.
So, I'm delighted to welcome all of you to Gloucester, and particularly, Madam Secretary, it's wonderful to have you here. I know of your deep interest in what happens on Cape Ann and throughout the Commonwealth, and it's absolutely fantastic that you would be here today, along with Secretary Bonner, to be here to hear from a community that is engaged and innovative and active on issues that are relating to seniors. In fact, I have to take a moment. I know the mayor threw me under the bus just a little bit, but I want to say it is remarkable that the mayor of a city can actually work as a shine counselor, and I think it's important that everyone knows that if you come here on a Friday afternoon, you will find the mayor of the city of Gloucester helping people as a shine counselor, and that is a testament. I believe you made a comment about brevity as well, Madam Mayor. But at any rate, I won't take up too much time either, except to say that an important part of what we all do is not only speaking and acting, but it's also listening. And for me, having you all here today is an important part of that. I am delighted to see all of you. Roseanne, my gosh, it's been such a long time. Great to see you here. It's great to see my former colleague, Senator Moore, here, and so many people in this community who are active in trying to respond to the needs of our senior population. And that's one of the key things that I think you will hear today, is the integration of services, whether it be the senior center, whether it be our veteran service offices, whether it be our open door food pantry, whether it be Action or any of our other social service agencies. The fact that we are integrated reduces the chance significantly that someone will fall through the cracks, someone will have an unidentified need, and then we'll watch the deteriorating consequences of that until there is a needed intervention. So I think you will find here that there's a lot of good work being done. I'm delighted that you're here to hear about it. I do want to recognize my liaison to the senior community, Dick Curran, who's right here, who is a frequent visitor. And just say that I, for one, learn an awful lot whenever I walk through these doors. And Lucy Sheehan and the crew here at the Council on Aging does a wonderful job. I'm very honored to be a member of the Friends of the Council on Aging in Gloucester. And I see other folks here from throughout our Senate district and from Middleton and other places. And I just know the kind of wisdom that I get when I'm here. And I'm not asked to call bingo, which is always a challenge. But when I'm not, I learn an awful lot. And I know that you will today. And I would say to everyone who is here in attendance that the people at the front of this room are remarkably responsive, creative, and committed to the welfare of our seniors in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We are lucky to have them, and they are all lucky to be hearing from you, and I'm really fortunate to be here in the middle of all of it. So thank you all very much. And
Senator knows I only tease people for whom I have affection. Anna Swenson, is it Swanson? Anna Swanson, please. Anna, yep, come. I'm sorry?
I thought maybe I misunderstood the question on the thing, and I don't need to speak. I just am here representing Backyard Growers, and we provide gardens for seniors around Gloucester. And
I loved your email address.
oh, thank you. But I don't
Okay.
have any concerns at this point.
Okay.
I was talking about thinking about solutions, I guess.
All right, thank you. Meredith McDonald, please. And then after Meredith McDonald, Thomas Mink or Minch?
Hi, thank you so much for hosting this morning. I guess my greatest concern for my seniors in my community would be affordable housing, but access to that affordable housing. Right now, we have about a 2-year wait for our seniors to get into a unit, and 2 years can sometimes be too long for them. So I think we're at a crossroads where we need to start looking outside the box as to where can these seniors go if they're no longer wanting to remain in their single-family home and there's no other place to go. So I would really challenge the governor and other folks higher up the ladder to look at other options. You know, is it tiny house villages? And how can we do something like that and maybe offer the municipalities that build these villages, are there tax incentives? Are there some other means that we can grow this? We have a lot of seniors who still want to maintain their independence but can't do so in a large home, and there's no place else for them to go. Along with that would be access to emergency housing. There isn't any. And we see seniors, I dare say almost weekly, being evicted from their homes through no fault of their own. And they have no place to go. And I believe Mr. Trenti alluded to it, many of the shelters and other places, homes where they could possibly go, won't take these folks if they're on portable oxygen, if they have service dogs. So these seniors are being made homeless because they have no place to go and there's no emergency housing. So those are two of my greatest concerns that I see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Thomas, is it Thomas Mink? Minch? Up. Or podium? Yep, yep. Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. My name is Thomas Mink, and I'm from the New England Home for the Deaf. I'm the community outreach coordinator there, and we provide nursing home and respite care, nursing assistance in independent living apartments for individuals who are deaf, who are seniors. And I'm also running 3 senior centers, one in the North Shore, one in Quincy, and one in Worcester. So I think our biggest concern for deaf seniors, deaf and hard of hearing seniors, and deaf-blind seniors is the lack of access to services. Most doctor's appointments, hospital appointments, sometimes do not provide full access for them in terms of interpreters, communication access, transportation access. Deaf seniors are, a high percentage of them are isolated, and much more so than non-deaf seniors, because they don't have access to their peers, they don't have access to the services, and so all of that creates more isolation and stress on them as seniors and part of our community. And our community center is to provide a place and try to address some of their needs. We're working on it with our limited resources, but we are trying to address that. Currently, we're working on trying to coordinate with our local elderly service centers to see if there's a way for them to provide transportation for the seniors who live in that vicinity. But the challenge is often that there are no people to do the outreach. I'm one person, I can't outreach the entire state. I need people in those communities to do that. I mean, I'm young, but I'm not, I don't have that much energy. So really, overall, we do provide a lot of assisted needs for them, but we do still feel that we're a bit of a pickle and trying to close the gaps there are people out there, and they exist. The numbers that we have found in our statistics are approximately 400 to 600 deaf seniors in the community, in the eastern part of the Commonwealth. That doesn't count Western Mass at all. So we're only serving probably around 200 of them, and the rest go isolated and unserved without communication access and no technological access. So that's a bit of a challenge for us to outreach to those individuals. We work very closely with Deaf Incorporated, Mass Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, to try to make that network happen. Sometimes it works, sometimes we just don't have enough support. And I want to say thank you for listening. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Ron Bergenheim, please. And then after Mr. Bergenheim, Kelly Knox. Sort of like a baseball game, I'm getting people lined up.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Ron Bergenheim, and I'm an independent living specialist at Deaf Incorporated in the Salem office, and I work in the North Shore area. I work with deaf and hard of hearing individuals who are isolated in their houses, and we realize that there's a long waiting list too for housing. And that's really the priority I'd like to address today. It's very difficult for them to find available housing, and with the 2-year waiting list, as someone else mentioned, it's very, very challenging. Technologically, another issue that we have as a priority is transportation, because many of the seniors don't have cars and they're on foot, and where they have to go is very, very far, and they don't have really the ability to do that very well with their health sometimes. So they need help, and they need advocacy in terms of transportation, so I wanted to address that concern. My third issue is hospitals. We're having difficulty getting interpreter services, and so seniors don't have access. Video relay interpreting is something that they're trying to work with, but the technological problems of VRI prevents them from having immediate service. A live individual is really what works best. So those are the issues I'd like to address today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Kelly Knox, please.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for doing this. I've learned so much already, and I'm very excited about what's going on here, so thanks. I'm from Senior Care. I'm Kelly Knox. I'm the development officer, so I'm with the Senior Care contingent over there. One of the things I think that the Commonwealth can do, and I think it's already being done, is to encourage and endorse the age and dementia-friendly communities. So what I wanted to say today is that Senior Care has begun the process on Cape Ann to create age and dementia-friendly communities, and we've been funded to do an assessment in the 4 towns. And so that's probably going to start this fall. And that'll start with taking the community assessments that already exist and determining, calling out information from those, and then doing one-on-one communications with different sectors in the community. I think what's unique about what Senior Care is doing, and I'm not sure who else is doing it across the Commonwealth, is that we're combining both age and dementia friendly as we pursue this process. And we've met and spoke with Senator Tarr, we've met and spoke with the mayor, and all other leaders in the different communities. So, tad bit nervous if you can't tell. But I'm very excited, again, I just want to say I'm very excited that you're doing this, because I think the age and dementia-friendly communities actually will answer all 6 questions that are on the sheet. So, thank you.
Thank you. You make sure that we receive your needs assessment,
Oh, absolutely.
please?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right. Deborah Biryani, please. Morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I am the director of the Chelmsford Senior Center, and we are a hub of resources and support for seniors and their families and caregivers all around. So when I say that we're serving the seniors of our town and our area, it also means that we're serving their families, because so many of them are their caregivers, and that's some of the statistic that we don't really get credit for, I think, a lot of the senior centers and other senior services around. So I wanted to bring that up. Also, I'm here because I'm a mom, and I know that if there were something wrong with the schools in town, that all of the moms and all of the dads would be there to advocate. But who are there to really advocate for the seniors? So that's us, and you, and I'm so thankful that you're doing it and that we're here to all do it. Seniors don't speak up for themselves a lot. It's hard to ask for something for yourself sometimes, and so I'm being their mom. I'm the mom up here. So I want to say thank you for that. Also, you asked what makes our community work. We have a partnership with Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. Hi, Roseanne, just have to know. So we have a contract with them, and we have transportation. We have social day program in our senior center. We have a full-service kitchen that helps run Meals on Wheels and congregate meals that provide a place for people to come and also and socialize and become active in the community and useful. And we also have a companion program that we have out of the senior center. It's not a business model, so we can keep our costs down for the families. We're part of the town. We're a social service, and so we're able to provide something that they can't get elsewhere for the same money. And I think that's really a great part of what our senior center does. So the top two issues that we face, I would say, every year, the budget for the nutrition program and the budget for the transportation are always challenges. We thank you so much for supporting the formula grant. The governor supported it, Senator Tarr did, and we're very thankful that we did have that formula grant. So many of the formula grant funds are used to pay for staffing for, like, my van drivers, or all my part-time van drivers are paid out of the formula grant. So when we don't get an increase ever, it really cuts our hours. So it's difficult, and so that really makes a big difference for us. Let's see. We try to make sure that people are healthy and happy and connected, and so just a little bit about a little different information. I have about 30 new seniors coming per month for the past few years. New members, and that's just the people who are signing up and registering. So I know that's a bigger number, but on average we have about one new person per day who's coming into the senior center, and we're providing, 60 all the way up to 100 and probably 10 are 4 different generations of people. So lots of different needs. Your needs are not the same as your mom's needs or your grandmother's needs. So we're trying to be innovative and make sure that we're connecting with all of those people. And I would say the thing that is the most important thing in our senior center is that we have a great senior power. We have volunteer power. We have over 260 active volunteers just this year, and so we're a great deal. So thank you so much for listening and for supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, I believe Representative Ferranti is here.
Yes, thank
there
you.
She is.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you for coming down to Gloucester today. I understand that this is the one hearing that you have up in our area and that you chose us.
And this is the first hearing.
And the first hearing, so how about a round of applause for the commission for picking us? Thank you. I know that Senator Tarr was here earlier, and both Senator Tarr and I can say that we both have family members in our households that are requiring of the services that you provide, and just the importance of that. I think one of the most important things, being here at the Senior Center and being personally involved in all of the services that you provide, is making sure that the senior or that the elder has the ability to participate in the community. And I would advocate strongly for making sure that those services are in place, especially with the personal caregivers, the ability to come to a senior center like this, and making sure that they're not literally stuck in their homes, isolated from the rest of the community. So with that, I want to be brief today because I know there are a lot of people who have traveled quite a distance to be here today. I wanted to thank you personally for being here today. And for those of you that don't know, I have the ability to work with the secretary on a daily basis in terms of advocating for seniors, and we could not ask for a better Secretary of Health and Human Services. So thank you very much for your service, Madam Secretary.
Oh,
And
I'm not running for office, but
no,
thank you.
she's not running for office, but she does do a good job, and everybody should know who the people are who do that excellent job. So thank you for your service to the Commonwealth, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, thank you. I'll take Radeline anytime. All right, Don Prescott, please. Mr. Prescott?
It's Dory.
Oh, Dory.
Short for Dorothy, that's okay. My writing probably wasn't very clear. So my name is Dory Prescott.
Clearly I need to change my glasses. Sorry about that. My apologies.
That's quite all right. I'm also from Senior Care. I'm the Director of Home Care there. And so much of my day-to-day job is to oversee the coordination of services to the elders that we serve in our 9 towns. And one of the issues that we've identified along with our network has to do with the workforce. The growing senior population is poised to encounter a significant shortage of paid and unpaid caregivers to meet the growing demand in the community of personal care and other types of services that we provide. One of the largest personal care programs for the elderly and disabled population is the Personal Care Attendant Program. And we would ask that the state amend the Massachusetts regulation, the Mass Health regulations, to allow spouses to be paid as caregivers under the PCA program. In many cases, those spouses are still in the workforce, and this would allow them the opportunity to stay home with their loved one, and also to help with the financial challenges that many of them are facing as they age. We would also ask that the regulations be amended to allow the PCA consumers to receive care if they only require queuing and supervision for their PCA needs. The other major issue is the wage of the frontline workers, including those who work for providers that contract with the ASAPs through the home care programs. Paid caregivers do not make a competitive wage to do this work, and it's critical that the rate of pay for these workers is adequate to meet the growing demand, especially as the baby boomers continue to access services. We would like to ensure that beginning in FY19, these frontline workers earn $15 an hour and receive an annual cost of living adjustment to begin to successfully address the growing demand. A direct care workforce task force established by the state would be another way to tackle this issue, including adequate wages, fringe benefits, and salary competitiveness to begin to tackle the challenges of this critical need. Thank you.
And do you have, do you have cost estimates for your proposals?
No.
Cost estimates?
I do not have those, but I'm sure that the network through Mass Home Care would be able to get those.
Retired Senator Richard Moore, who found his way from Worcester.
South of Worcester.
South, all right, south of Worcester.
Probably
Central
I don't know if I
Mass.
get the prize for the longest travel, but it was great to come. The mayor welcomed me.
He thought he was in New Hampshire, just so you know.
For the record, Richard Moore, and I'm the president of the Massachusetts Assisted Living Association. Probably about 30 years ago, before assisted living came to Massachusetts, led by folks like Tom Grape, one of your colleagues on the council, when people were unable to safely live alone or with a family member, they had very little choice other than to move into skilled nursing, even though they didn't need the extensive level of services that SNFs provide. And so there are some issues that as we serve the more than 16,000 people who are in assisted living and about 250 assisted living communities across the state, some issues of helping to keep people there, allow them to age in place, as we've used the term, or to come into the assisted living community. And one of the threats to that is the need for the ability to deliver some basic health services. Currently, you have to bring that in, but as some of our members have found, it's very expensive to do that. Just for injections, for insulin, which is a high need in many communities, to bring in someone from outside is anywhere from $60 to $90, and that's a Berkshire County estimate. And so it's even more in the eastern part of the state. That's per shot, usually 3 times a day, 7 days a week. So it really makes it unaffordable to have to pay outside for those services. And we have, all of the assisted livings have nurses, some more than one, depending on the size of their community, who are fully licensed and capable, who could provide some of the basic services that now the individual, if they're able, could do, or a family member can do. But they can't always do it. If they're getting a little dementia, they're not able to often get the dosage or the timing right, things like that. So we filed Senate Bill 345, which is in the Committee on Elder Affairs, and we're looking to broaden the number of services, just some basic stuff, some very preliminary bandage changing, oxygen regulation, the application of ointments or drops, and the injections are really some of the basic things that many people need, and in some cases have either had to move out of state. In fact, the New Hampshire assisted livings are advertising in the Globe to come to New Hampshire because they can do it in the way of providing those health services where we cannot because of the statutory limitations. And it would allow them to either stay in their state, to closer to family, and also not to have to prematurely move to skilled nursing to get those services, because sometimes they don't need all those other services that skilled nursing provides, and at some greater expense to the taxpayer, because the skilled nursing tends to be 2 or 3 times the expense of assisted living. So the ability to provide some of those basic health services is one of the needs that will allow more people to enjoy the benefits of assisted living. Another issue is the affordability. And there's been a program for low-income seniors called Group Adult Foster Care, which has some real issues. It exists technically in the field. There are only about 800, I think, seniors in assisted living currently under that program. And they're not growing very fast because the limitation on who can qualify, you have to make less than $1,200 a month. Who gets, what can you pay for? Well, it costs on average, without memory care, which is a little more expensive, about $105 a day to maintain a senior. Reimbursement's about just a little over $40 a day. So it's just not an affordable proposition for any of the providers, even the nonprofit providers, to deliver. If the state could consider a waiver, as 44 other states have done, so that we're not in the same ranks as Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, one of the other commonwealths does do it, but they have a lot of rural areas. We're not in the greatest league, and Massachusetts has a history of being a leader in a lot of areas, healthcare being one of them, and many of the human service programs. But for whatever reason, the waiver was not checked off when it had the opportunity to do so under the previous administration. I think this would be a step in the right direction, because it would allow more people, because the limitation is about $2,400 a month, so more people who are at the lower income scale could actually qualify to choose assisted living as an option. The reimbursement, at least for the services piece, is much more reasonable, up to about $120 for the services provided. So it would be more affordable and more attractive to providers, and certainly a great benefit to the nonprofit providers to be able to admit people and retain people under that program. The final challenge, and it's one that's been mentioned briefly by some previous speakers, but it's a challenge in assisted living as it is in every part of senior living and human services in general, and that is workforce needs. And there's a great need for more to be done to encourage people into the field of senior living and to help them stay in the field. I know that some of the folks, actually, and folks in my party, and at least at the national level, and I guess at the state level, have talked about providing free tuition for colleges. Well, I think what we should be looking at with that kind of a program, now there's some pretty broad income limitation, but we ought to be looking at targeting, if we're going to do that program, targeting the folks that get free tuition who are going to go into careers where there's a real societal need, and senior living and senior care services are certainly qualify in that regard. And you could do it in a way, much as there used to be a program at the federal level with student loans, that you could get actually 10% a year for 5 years if you went into teaching, for one thing, forgiven both the principal and interest. And something like that would both be, I think, responsible fiscally, and would help to target people and get them into the field for at least a period of time, and hopefully longer. Because most people now that go into senior care and other areas are oftentimes right out of college. They get their experience there. They love the work because they think they're really making a difference. But when they start having a family, they can't afford to stay in that kind of work.
And in conclusion,
you know,
I know I'm doing this at my own
risk. You're not
risk.
going to let me filibuster, is that the case?
No, but we have your materials,
All
right?
You do have
And you know how to reach us.
Far more detail than the time permits, and so I hope you'll take a look at all of that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann Holak, please? Is it Holak? I'm getting close. Thank you. Good morning. And then Patrick Mahar after that.
Well, I don't know who arranged your schedule, but it was genius to come to Gloucester on the first day of summer. So thank you. I'm the director of the Beverly Council on Aging.
Yeah.
I've been there for 12 years now. And the one thing I want to say is the best asset for seniors in every community is the senior center. And then I want to also say that most seniors I know are also ageist. And so when we try to get over ageism, there are so many people who say, I'm too young to go to the senior center. I have a friend whose 88-year-old aunt was in rehab, and she said that the 88-year-old said she was in a room with an old lady. So, I think, the senior population as a whole are ageist because they've grown up in a society where they're not valued. And at senior centers, we do value our seniors. The problem that we're seeing, though, is that as the baby boomers are aging into the system, so are the clients of DMH and Department of Developmental Disabilities aging into our system. We're not prepared to serve that population, and we don't do it very well when they show up at our doors. And the family caregivers also, who are so stressed out, often will kind of drop off their loved one with dementia, and we're not providing that kind of service at most of our senior centers unless we have adult daycare. And then even with adult daycare, you have to be registered, you have to be part of the program. And so often my day is spent dealing with the walk-ins, and we don't know who those walk-ins are going to be on any given day. We have a client from Department of Developmental Disabilities who's dropped out of her adult daycare 3 times because she likes us better. But we can't provide that service for her. So anyways, that's our senior center, and it's a wonderful asset in the community. We need more support. I was able to get a half-time social worker in my city budget this year, but we even need more than that, I think, because the social service needs have become so apparent. And then I want to talk about elder abuse, because we see it a lot in the caregiver community because they're so stressed out, and they don't know where to turn. And then I also, I say that I'm a part-time caregiver and a full-time guilty daughter for a mother in a nursing home. And every day there is neglect happening in the nursing home. And I call myself the bitch of the nursing home, but the other family members around say, no, that's me. So we're advocating as hard as we can and as best as we can. And it's the hardest job I've ever done. And we kept my mom at home as long as we could. But at a point, she needed more than what we could provide. But the nursing homes are not doing a good job. And if it's not abuse, it's at least neglect. And then we also have lots of people in self-neglect. and they have not made a plan for themselves, and then they get in trouble, and there's no safety net for them. So my brilliant idea is that there should be a one-time tax credit for everybody in Massachusetts to prepare their healthcare proxy, their will, and everything else that they need to have a plan in place. Because that might just incentivize them enough to actually make a plan. And we do our best to try to get people to make their plans, but most of us, I bet there's a lot of people in this room who don't have a plan. So anyways, thank you very much again for being here today.
Patrick, is it Mahar?
Yeah, Patrick Mahar.
I think we're about, I don't know what we're doing. I think we're about to change mics here. Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to congratulate you and thank you for initiating a program through the Department of Mental Health last year that provided grants for 3 collaboratives of COAs, small town COAs. And what that program did was it provided the funds for professional mental health outreach, which supports the wellness enhancement mission that is the mission of the COAs. The smaller COAs have a difficult time having funds available for that. And this particular grant for collaboratives of approximately 6 towns provided $100,000 to get professional services. And what it does is save money on the back end for mental health repair services. Now, it happens to be that my background is as a counselor at Salem Hospital, and that in a mental health unit. And the state spends a lot of money on that endeavor to keep to repair these people who are running into mental health disorders. And this particular grant that was provided for the first time, pilot grants to 3 towns, Bellingham, Amesbury, and I think it was North Andover. And and it provided money for basically 18 towns that could not have professional services. And so you're spending pennies on the dollar at that end to save for mental health disorders that are extremely costly to the state. And hopefully that grant program will continue. And also, since my exposure to the COAs is fairly recent, through an internship, because I've been completing courses at Salem State. It's an amazing labor of love that the COAs are involved in, because they do run on very, very little funding. And so yet, if money is spent wisely on COAs by the state, you can achieve a great deal. And I think many have alluded to that, and that it goes beyond just the seniors. It also supports the families and the communities. So I want to thank you and thank the COAs for all that they've been doing. It's an amazing job, it really is. And again, I come originally from the private sector, so this exposure that I've had over the past few years is showing not only the good job that the COAs do, but what the state of Massachusetts is also doing to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Joanne Harrison, please. Joanne Harrison? Yep. Morning.
I'm here today as a citizen of Gloucester, but I became a citizen 7 years ago. I was a foster child in this state, and my dad, I'm his guardian now, in 2006 was displaced from his home in Wilmington through no fault of his own. And I got a call, I was working in Boston, that my dad was in a nursing home. None of us were ever contacted, you know. So I immediately called the Wilmington police, you know, I put out a missing person report for him, and they found him. He was in a nursing home in Needham Heights, Avery Manor, and I had to piece together. I'm the investigator in my family, you know. My dad had a hard life growing up, and we ended up in foster care, doing a lot of stuff in family stuff, not, you know, him personally, but the whole story behind what happened to him was where they lived was it was, you know, sold, and he was getting care through one of the senior service places in North Andover, and she took my father and dropped him off at 73 years old at Pine Street Inn in Boston. My father got pneumonia. He ended up at Mass General with hypothermia. They took him over to Mount Auburn and diagnosed him at 73 with schizophrenia and put him on all kinds of antipsychotic drugs. When we finally found him, he'd been there probably almost a year. He gained 100 pounds and became insulin diabetic there. He fell out of bed, smashed his head, had stitches. And he laid on the floor and nobody came to him. He called up but nobody heard him. I'm here today to talk about the neglect in the nursing homes. The neglect of not going through my father's personal papers and finding that he has daughters who love him. He might think, you know, he's a burden to us, but he isn't. Okay, they tried to use a HIPAA law, and I said, listen, nobody in my family has seen him for 6 months. This doesn't apply. If you find him and he says he doesn't want us to be involved, okay, you know. I'll tell you, it was Gloucester. My father went through so much, different nursing homes. They wouldn't listen to me, and I was the guardian. I fought to be the guardian, you know, and because I don't want any senior, including my father, to be treated the way he was treated by people who are paid by the state in some of these homes, but they're neglected. We would come on that floor sometimes and smell fecal matter, smell urine, okay? Things stolen off my father's body, off his dresser. I watched neglect there, and I couldn't do anything until I became his guardian, and we got him out of there. And the second home was so great for a time, then it got sold, and they started putting my father back on drugs he wasn't supposed to be on. So he episoded out, and he ended up in Norwood Hospital, in the psych ward, in a lockdown. My father's a United States veteran, 2 years in the Navy in the Korean War. And this is how he got treated. It's like, you know, I don't get this. Massachusetts, I'm 60. He's 83 yesterday. You know, my father is declining. Why? For the 10 years he's just spent in nursing homes. Gloucester gave my father back 5 years of his life. He got to come here because I was living here. Golden Living, I can't say enough good things about them. How about investing in those nursing homes? Give them more resources. They're being sold right now to another organization, you know. I've researched them, I guess they're doing okay, but, you know, for caretakers, for us, I would love to bring him home. You know what they told me? I'm 60, I could have senior housing, but he can't live with me because they only get one-bedroom apartments. How about investing in some family-type units that are affordable? And I would love to bring him home. I would love to take care of him myself. I want to say kudos to Senator Tarr because he has stood with me and my family. Once he knew what happened to us in DCF, covered up what happened to my father's children in foster care. You know, but I'm standing as a witness. All 5 of us are productive today. And, you know, I'm not here to blame people. I want to see change in our state. You know, we're all going to be seniors one day. So if we're not actively involved in this, what are we saying to ourselves? So I thank you for coming here today. I just want the governor to understand you have to put the money where your talk is. It just can't be talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Baker? I didn't see you sneak in here. There she is. Hello, Pat Baker.
Well, I snuck in here and I live here.
Yeah, you go.
Thank you very much.
That's a good reason to sneak in here then, right?
Oh, it's not working. Thank you for coming to my hometown of Gloucester. Yes,
3 minutes.
Yes, I know what 3 minutes looks like. Thank you. I am Pat Baker. I actually spend more waking hours in Boston at Legal Services. I'm not related to the governor. I'm not related to Rose Baker. But my mom, Mary Baker, was an organist on Cape Ann for most of her life, played at the senior center, arranged actually to have the organ that's here, and played in every faith community on Cape Ann. So we love this place and we love the senior care because they made it possible for her to live with me for 3 years when she was in decline. So appreciate that so much. As you all know, and as the Secretary knows, about 1 million elders currently in Massachusetts. 1 in 10 are below the poverty level. 6 out of 10 struggle to meet daily needs. And the UMass Gerontology Institute research shows that Massachusetts is second to Mississippi in the ability of low-income elders to meet their basic needs. Second to Mississippi, which is stunning. My mom was one of those. She had a total of $1,200 in Social Security. She was a musician. You don't make a lot as a musician. You don't have a lot of Social Security. I'm thankful that she could live with me. I'm thankful that I could have cared for her and worked in the city. But I'm also concerned about the aging of Massachusetts and New England, and particularly the aging of older women who have been caregivers their lives or have gotten less than their full pay on the dollar, and they are aging into poverty rapidly, as are men, but women are living longer. So my priorities for EOHHS and EOEA is, first, I would encourage you to include a low-income person on the council. I'm not aware that there's any individual who represents the low-income community as a member of the council, and I think that could be very useful and informative to you. And I'm sure Mass Senior Action would be happy to provide you with a member. Second, there's a number of parts of the Medicare, Medicaid program that need to be looked at again. First is we need to lift or remove the asset test. And Medicaid is $2,000. It's been stuck there for 35 years. That should at least go up to the Medicare savings plan level. We should expand the Medicare savings plan from 135% of poverty to 300% of poverty to reduce the out-of-pocket expenses that make it impossible for seniors to be able to meet their basic living expenses, their rent, their heat, their food. Third, as you know, I talk a lot about the SNAP gap, but I'm talking more about a common application so that all services can be coordinated. Thank goodness Mayor Romeo Thenkin was with us a couple times and advised me on healthcare issues that I don't know, but this is complicated, and the more application routes we have, the more difficult it is, particularly for our low-income seniors. So I urge the administration to do what it can. I know clouds are looming on the federal level. We are aware of that. But to work towards a common application portal, I applaud EOEA and the Department of Transitional Assistance for all they're working on to combine SNAP and Medicaid, but we need to do more. So thank you for coming to my hometown. It was a great excuse not to take the train to Boston. Love that you're here, and just thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Pat, for all your advocacy. David Bergeron, please. Mr. Bergeron? Morning.
Good morning. My name is David Bergeron. I live in Gloucester, and I'm the owner of Beauport Hearing Care. And thank you very much for the opportunity and for coming out to listen to us. I just would like to shine the spotlight on hearing health care for the mild to moderate hearing loss. And there's a lot of talk about this in Washington now, and there's a real misunderstanding about, there's a lack of understanding that hearing aids are not really the solution. Oral rehabilitation is the solution, where hearing aids are a part of that process, part of that treatment process. It's not a matter of just putting hearing aids in your ears and then all of a sudden you can hear. Some people need auditory training, they need oral rehabilitation. So I have two suggestions on how to deliver better care. Massachusetts Medicaid has a really good template in place already. It's a good hearing aid benefit, but it lacks Providers need to be compensated for providing those oral rehabilitation services that a lot of people really need. People that are new to hearing aids often will put them on. They may be properly fit, but they'll say, and their family members will say, you've got these hearing instruments, but you still don't hear. Patients will say, I can hear you, but I don't understand what you're saying. So it's a new signal. If you've had hearing loss for a while, the brain starts to sleep. So you need to wake that back up. So it's a process that patients need to go through, and the public doesn't understand this. So oral rehabilitation needs to be compensated in our insurance system. And all insurance plans should provide oral rehabilitation to all patients, which includes hearing aids. I would submit to you that there is an ample body of scientific evidence already in place that would justify the cost of providing this benefit and show that there's a cost savings by providing this kind of benefit so that people could get that care. The other piece is the community dimension. Hearing is a social experience. It's something that we use to communicate with one another. We all, as a community, need to pay more attention to good hearing. If we have good hearing, we need to take care of that. It's a precious sense. It's very important for us to take care of our good hearing. So hearing conservation should become part of what we talk about in our communities. And then we need to help people that have some hearing issues to bridge over to the clinic. So how do we do that? Well, we have something in place. Community health workers, caseworkers, outreach workers working in assisted living facilities, in senior care agencies, in primary care practices, anywhere. They need to be trained on the basics of hearing health, just general information that they can convey to their clients. They need to be trained to do basic screening, provide basic general information, and navigation services, navigation assistance to get them to the clinic, so that they arrive at the clinic with some kind of an expectation as to what that process is going to be. It's not just a matter of stick the hearing aid in and then you're all set. So those activities should be reimbursable under the Medicaid system and in the health insurance system. So I just wanted to shine the spotlight on that and those two ideas. And we just need to talk about this a lot more at the community level. People in Washington, academics, and people that don't, special interests that don't see patients on a daily basis are not going to be able to solve this problem for us. We need to do this at the community level, and health insurance should cover it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Christine Parker, please. Good morning. Would you like to stay seated? We can bring the microphone to you. I'm sorry?
No, that's all
Okay.
right.
Well, no, I think it's right.
Oh,
We're,
it's the right-
we're
right.
using this one.
Oh, okay. Okay, my name is Christine Parker, and although I don't live in Gloucester, I work here in Gloucester. I travel from Salem to Gloucester, and when I come down here, I have a concern about transportation. And I deal with seniors. I'm trying to get them out of the house to come to a great supportive day program that I run. And many of them will say to me, well, I have no way to get there. And I find that transportation is, no offense to what's already here, but I feel that people should, that officials should be aware of the lacks in transportation here. And that's number one. And number two, that people don't seem to know what does exist here. I mean, I get seniors out of the house to come down here to enjoy activities from 9 to 2:30 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We have a great time, but a lot of seniors and their families will say, there's no way to get here. And our program can cover more than just Gloucester. Gloucester, Rockport, and Essex are covered by CADA, but we can't get people from Beverly. because Beverly or Manchester, because there's no transportation, and that's really not too far for seniors to come to enjoy programs. And so I'm here to promote improved transportation, more money being put towards transportation. I'm currently involved in a program called the New Ride, and that's to, it's an energy saving program. So the more one body of transportation can bring people from further away, the better it is for energy saving. And seniors need to get out of the house in order to, keep them stimulated. And we have services here and can provide services for seniors in all the Cape Ann and North Shore area where the transportation available. So, and there's also seniors here needing to get to Boston or Peabody to doctors, and it's hard to do that. So if you would consider, and we appreciate your coming to hear this, providing funding for better transportation for seniors, it would improve their health and would keep them going for longer, so they'd need less, accessible measures for transportation. So thank you very much, and keep seniors going with better transportation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just a reminder, if anybody would like to provide testimony or information to us, to please sign up as Robin comes in with another. All right. Let's see. Sean Cahill, please.
Thank you.
Morning.
Hi. Hello, Secretary Bonner and members of the council. I hope this doesn't do feedback. I'm Sean Cahill.
We're hoping so also.
Yeah. I'm 54. I'm a resident of Beverly. Grew up going to Good Harbor Beach up the road. I work in Boston at the Fenway Institute at Fenway Community Health Center. And I also serve on the State Legislative Commission on Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Aging. I want to let you know that in fall 2015, the Commission on LGBT Aging issued comprehensive recommendations for how aging services in the Commonwealth can ensure that LGBT older adults are accessing services and able to age in place. We're working closely with Elder Affairs Secretary Alice Bonner to implement these recommendations. Many of the needs of LGBT older adults are the same as those of other elders, but there are some unique things to be aware of. While many of us have children and grandchildren, on average we're less likely to have these built-in caregivers. Even LGBT elders who have children may be estranged from them. LGBT elders are therefore more in need of formal caregiving support and other elder services. Because LGBT elders came of age in a society in which being gay could mean losing your job, your home, and your relationship with your family, many are wary of how they will be treated in mainstream services and may be less likely to access them. This is true, for example, of veteran services. Because many gay people were dishonorably discharged from the military, they may not know that they're eligible for them. Social isolation is a major concern. It's really important to help people develop and strengthen social support networks which correlate with better mental health and life satisfaction. The good news is that Massachusetts is at the forefront of LGBT elder policy and services. So for example, we have 17 congregate meal programs that usually once a month have a dinner for LGBT elders and their friends. And locally we have one in Salem at the House of Seven Gables and one in Merrimack, Massachusetts. Polling research indicates that older Americans are more likely to hold anti-gay beliefs than younger middle-aged people, for example, to morally disapprove of homosexuality. They also have misconceptions, often have misconceptions, about how HIV is transmitted. So for example, a Washington Post 2012 poll found that 47% of Americans aged 65 and older think that you can get HIV by sharing the same drinking glass as an HIV positive person, which is not true. But because HIV disproportionately affects gay and bisexual men and transgender women, this is also a concern. The solution is training elder service staff to ensure that services are accessible and affirming for all older adults, and collecting sexual orientation and gender identity data to ensure equal access to elder services. The Massachusetts LGBT Aging Commission and the Family Institute, including our LGBT Aging Project, are here to help you accomplish these important goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So yesterday was the 25th anniversary of the Commonwealth's LGBTQ Commission, which was became a commission when Governor Weld was governor, and some guy named Charlie Baker was his undersecretary for Health and Human Services, who actually was the person who suggested it. I have all this trivia in my, it's not trivia actually, it's important information about the Commonwealth. So Elise Sinagra? How close am I? Oh, I'm sorry, it said nope, my apologies. I was just like, I'm just following the program here, my apologies. Okay, yep, no, so we have only one more individual who wants, so this is sort of like the last call, not for coffee or wonderful baked goods, but for anyone else who would like to tell us something. Yep.
Hi, good morning. Sorry, I wasn't exactly sure if this was more for seniors or for advocates, but I will speak. I'm happy to be here. My name's Lisa Gargoni. I'm with the Home Care Aid Council. Yep. We work very closely with a number of people at that table, working to advocate for home care workers. And I was very pleased to hear my colleagues from Senior Care and Mass Assisted Living speak today about the workforce challenges. Alice Bonner, Secretary Bonner, has been a huge advocate for us. But I just wanted to call your attention to some new information. Tufts Health Plan Foundation, and Nora, who's on the council but not here today, did fund us to do some study of home care agencies that contract with the ASAPs. We have a two-part study. We surveyed agencies in the fall, and we'll actually survey home care workers this summer. And some of the findings of that report are pretty telling. We did do a presentation for elder affairs staff, and I would love to share it with the entire council. But right now, we're already seeing, and I know a lot of people talk about this challenge of the workforce coming, but according to the survey that we just did, over 45% of the home care agencies that responded, and we had a 50% response rate. So they contract today to provide home care services. They are already struggling to fill cases, particularly on the evenings and weekends. The turnover rate for these home care agencies was over 14%. Nationally, job turnover today is 3%. Some agencies have turnover as high as 41% today. 87% of these agencies said their top challenge is finding workers. And we actually looked at their hiring and separation accounts over a 3-month period. So over 3 months, on average, the agencies employed 18 or hired 18 new workers and lost 15. That is a net gain of 3 workers. We do not have enough workers today to care for the seniors of tomorrow, and we certainly are not going to have, enough workers today to care for the seniors today. Imagine what's going to happen when we see this elder, influx coming in. So it's a huge issue, and I just want to state that we 100% support the many efforts that this administration has done to help workers. The PCA workforce has gotten some great support from Mass Health and the governor, and we think that's wonderful. The nursing homes have a user fee. They've got some support for their CNAs. We actually proposed a user fee similar to the legislature this session. We worked at Mass Home Care, the Home Care Alliance of Massachusetts. It was not included in the budget, but we need to do something to support these workers, because they will not be available. And one of your questions was what's the top issue? I do think workforce is one of the top issues. And again, parity. People need to be able to provide the care they want in their setting. If they choose to be in a home with an aide who works for an agency, that has to be there. And right now we're really setting it up so that there are workers in other settings, but not enough for the home care agencies that provide care to seniors who want to stay at home but want an agency model. So I thank you all for your work. I know you think this is an important issue. You did ask Dory the cost. We think it's about $30 million. And I know that's huge cost. But this is the kind of things that we need to think about long term. And we certainly have solutions on the table, and we'd love to work with you on them.
Thank you. And just a reminder, anyone who would like to send us any information, to send it to agingconversation@state.ma.us, and we will then make sure that all the council members have it. We also will be posting, all of our information is posted on the mass.gov website, which we will be sending out to folks. So our last speaker is, no. Katie?
Good morning. I do apologize, last minute participant here. I didn't realize, I was here, but I didn't realize I had to sign my name. And I didn't check off the box. I overlooked it. So I hadn't had coffee yet. That's my excuse.
It's all right. You know what? Life happens sometimes. It's fine.
It does. You're right. That's true. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Matthew Castiglione, and I'm the Regional Director of Independent Living Services at Deaf Incorporated, based in Salem, Massachusetts. And I cover the entire Northeast region and of the state, of the Commonwealth. It's a fairly large area. My focus really is on people who have hearing loss. As you know, as we age, we may lose some of our hearing. And for some people, this is a very scary experience, because they're used to being able to hear their entire lives, and then all of a sudden they can no longer hear, and they don't recognize what's happening, and they don't recognize what to do. There are services in place to assist them. However, not many people are aware of those services. So we need to get the word out. The problem with this is that when someone comes in the office, when they try to come to the office, they can't often come because of transportation limitations. And that's an issue. Another of our issues is a lot of them, as was mentioned earlier, in terms of hearing aids, they get hearing aids, which is an important assistance. I sign, but I use, and I speak, but I use hearing aids. But for a lot of people, I can do either. For me, I can do either. It works for me. For other people, it's not always an option for them. They don't have a backup, like they can't sign, or they've never learned sign language. So they only rely on these hearing aids, and there's very limited resources for them in regards to those services. So we have a very good healthcare system. However, the insurances, and only one carrier will pay for hearing aids and technological equipment like that. And so not everybody has Mass Health. And so a lot of people, as you grow older, you're on Medicare, you won't have Mass Health. How will you cover the cost of hearing aids? They're very expensive. Some places have discounts, however, some don't have any at all. And it's a lot of money. They're very expensive pieces of equipment. So that's a big issue that we have. Many people can learn sign language, but that's not often a way to support these individuals. And the population of those who have lost their hearing is growing as well. So I know that many of you can hear, some of you have hearing problems. We really need to address and pay attention to that, as hearing loss is an issue for seniors. People who are deaf and hard of hearing may not have the kind of family supports that some of you are fortunate enough to have. Funding and income, Social Security, and health insurance. Sometimes it's Mass Health, sometimes it's Medicare. Those are the only options people have. So when it comes time to renew the application or apply, the process itself is extremely complicated, and especially for some seniors. It's complicated for people who can hear. It's even worse for people who can't hear or have a hearing loss. So imagine that. So the language access, communication access, those are common problems. And those are things that we need to improve.
Thank you.
In our office, I'm one of 5 staff. That's all we have currently. Hopefully we're going to be expanding if we're fortunate enough. But you see the numbers here, 5 to, what are the numbers? What does that ratio make? And this is just Gloucester area. I mean, we're talking about larger populations across the state. So the one thing I'd like to say before I close is that I want to give you a very, very brief story about what happened to me about 3 weeks ago. There was a mother and daughter showed up in my office, and the mother was 85 years old. She had lost her hearing about 3 years old, completely lost her hearing about 3 years ago. And for me, I was trying to be very positive and support her and do what I could to work with her. She cried often. She was in tears. She blamed herself for this. She thought that people were mad at her. She didn't understand. And I know that it's easy. I've experienced that myself. People get angry with you when they think they can't hear you. And she feels like it's all her fault. And it's not her fault, but that's the way she perceived the world. And she's deaf now, and she's aging, and those two things go hand in hand oftentimes. And it breaks my heart when I see people aren't happy, and they think that the world is an inn for them because they've lost their hearing, because they don't have the money, they don't have the transportation, they can't access the services, and they don't have the support. I think those are the keys that we really need to address. I can't do it alone, we can't do it alone, but we do need your help. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would, the last person has been our wonderful host this morning, Lucy Sheehan. Where's Lucy?
Working.
I was just going to say, she's probably working, right? All right, well, someone needs to find Lucy. And while I do that, I just want to acknowledge the members of the council who have come today for the listening session. And I want to particularly acknowledge and thank Robin Lipson, Bill and Julie from our team from Elder Affairs for their work on the listening sessions. And there she is.
Hi,
Thank
I'm Lucy
you again.
Sheehan, and I'm Director of the Gloucester Council on Aging, and I wish to thank you for coming, and the board, the Governor's Council, and Secretary Boner, and offering this opportunity for people to speak and bring this information back to Governor Baker. The Gloucester Council on Aging, the Rose Baker Senior Center is a welcoming center, and we have been here.
It's obvious.
Thank you. We have been in this building now for about 16 years, and we thank the City of Gloucester for what they offer us. And our need right now, our largest need, is space. Because the number of seniors keeps growing, and each day we have new seniors coming into the senior center to register, the need for services and programs is evident. And our problem here at the senior center is we need to move things around each day because we have programs, and we're looking for grant money to build a second floor at the senior center. So we're hoping if that's possible anywhere. We want to thank you for the formula grant support, because the formula grant in Gloucester, every penny of it is spent on salaries. So it's much needed. We do not have an activity coordinator in Gloucester, so the staff that we have work very hard attending to all of the programs and services, and they extend themselves very much over and above. So we appreciate that help that you offer through the formula grant. And we again thank you for coming, and hope to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you, thank you. So,
Oh, forget it.
I'll tell you what, I'll move the PowerPoint.
I just wanted to say that I wanted to thank everybody for speaking. I really learned a lot. My dad passed away 10 years ago in his late 90s, and my mom had died 10 years previously. So we came to live with us. This is kind of embarrassing, but he didn't really like it. We had teenagers, dogs, a crazy house. And he said, I have to get out of here. And I said, I knew exactly how he felt, because I often wanted to leave too, but I couldn't. So we went around and looked at places, and I'll have to tell you, he was mobile at the time. He did not have not have severe hearing loss. He was not on oxygen, and I didn't realize till, as I listened to all of you today, how difficult that would have been if he did have those problems. He did get into assisted living, and he was not on a walker then, but then he was on a walker and everything, but you were allowed to stay if you came on the walker after you moved in. I had no idea there were so many rules to this. And, you know, then selling the house and the whole thing. So he didn't do well at the beginning in assisted living, and then he excelled. And so I want to thank all of you people in the field because it made, to be honest, it made my life a lot easier and happier to see him happy. And so I really, I heard 3 prominent things today, and the one that surprised me the most was transportation, transportation, transportation. I was able, my dad was like a half hour away, so I was able to, in the position to drive him and take him all those places. I realize that isn't always the case. So I think like it's housing and that long wait list, which is sad, transportation, and then the other one I heard a lot was access to services and knowledge of services. So you've really provided us with a lot of information to bring back to the governor, so I thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I want to just thank everyone for being out here this morning. Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.